Hey, what's up, everybody? It's another great episode today of Fourth Person Point of View, baby. Been watching the news here lately. I've been watching IG. I don't be on TikTok. Well, TikTok got dismantled anyway. No, not TikTok is up. But I've been on social media and I've been watching the news, all the different stations. And what I see, everybody's talking about those three letters. Well, I guess it could be four. And they are DEI. DEI. Then they got some that I've been seeing also, DEIA. Let's put that up there too. DEIA. So I wanted to talk about it. And of course, this fourth person point of view, we like talking about everything. Oh, there we go. So we got DEI and DEIA. A lot of people are on eggshells. A lot of people are talking about it. So of course I did some investigating, some deep dive, and found some information for you. And what I came up with, so President Trump, when he got into office, he signed a lot of executive orders and a few memos on stage. And it's caused some uproar because one of the biggest things that he talked about was DEI and DEIA, diversity, equity, and inclusion. That DEIA stands for diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility in the federal workplace. Now, of course, I have my views on DEI and DEIA. But let's look at it from that fourth person point of view perspective. So I'm gonna read you something I pulled from the White House website, so we can come in this and not just be emotional. But I do feel like it is a common senser, but hey, common sense ain't so common. So I'm gonna read you some of this right here, and if you want to read the rest of it, of course, go online to whitehouse.gov, and you can read this too. It says, Executive Order, January 20th, 2025. It says, by the authority vested in me as President by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, it is hereby ordered, Section 1, Purpose and Policy. The Biden administration forced illegal and immoral discrimination programs going by the name Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, DEI, into virtually all aspects of the federal government in areas ranging from airline safety to the military. This was a concerted effort stemming from President Biden's first day in office when he issued Executive Order 13985, advancing racial equity and support for undeserved communities through the federal government. Pursuant to Executive Order 13985 and follow-on orders, nearly every federal agency and entity submitted equity action plans to detail the ways that they have furthered DEI's infiltration of the federal government. The public release of these plans demonstrated immense public waste and shameful discrimination. That ends today. Americans deserve a government committed to serving every person with equal dignity and respect, and to expending precious taxpayer resources only on making America great. Section 2, Implementation. Section A, the Director of the Office of Management and Budget, OMB, assisted by the Attorney General and the Director of the Office of Personnel Management, which is OPM, shall coordinate the termination of all discriminatory programs, including illegal DEI, and diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility mandates, policies, programs, preferences, and activities in the federal government under whatever name they may appear. To carry out this directive, the Director of OPM, with the assistance of the Attorney General, as requested, shall review and revise as appropriate all existing federal employment practices, union contracts, and training policies or programs to comply with this order. Federal employment practices, including federal employee performance reviews, shall reward individual initiative, skills, performance, and hard work, and shall not, under any circumstances, consider DEI or DEIA factors, goal, policies, mandates, or requirements. Section B. Each agency, department, or commission head, in consultation with the Attorney General, the Director of OMB, and the Director of OPM, as appropriate, shall take the following actions within 60 days of this order. Terminate the maximum extent allowed by law all DEI and DEIA and environmental justice offices and positions, including but not limited to Chief Diversity Officer positions, all equity action plans, equity action initiatives or programs, equity-related grants or contracts, and all DEI or DEIA performance requirements for employees, contractors, and grantees. So, and that's not all of it. Like I said, you can go to whitehouse.gov, but that's sincerely yours, the White House, dated January 20, 2025. January 20, 2025. To have a large organization like the federal government, I disagree with President Trump on coming in on his first day signing memos to dismantle something like DEI and DEIA. Let me tell you why. So when I was in the Army, I was in the S3 section at a battalion and a brigade. That's a nice size. It's not the biggest, but it's just a nice size. It's a great opportunity for a person, especially a person who's not looking for an opportunity. It just kind of comes with the territory. So basically, the American people look at Trump as President Trump. People in the military, and this is just my way of thinking, but I'm going to bring you along. People in the military look at President Trump as Commander-in-Chief Trump. So civilian president, military commander-in-chief. It's a hierarchy. So I've seen this happen hundreds of times. When a new commander comes in, they come to me, S3 section, Bailey, my name is such and such. I'll be here. I officially take, my orders take effect on January 20, 2025. Follow me here. Okay. What do you want? Get all the memos, bring them to me so I can review them and sign them. So you have a binder, and that binder has every damn memo that unit has. And you got all type of memos. You got memos of the vacation policy. You got memos from the president who sent his shit down to the general. The general sent theirs down to the colonel. The colonel sent theirs down to the full bird. Like, you got all type of policies. And so this damn binder, I wish I had I ain't got no binders I can show you in here. I can show you this here. So some of those damn binders, they be this thick. They be this damn thick. Like, literally. Like, you could actually have you can have so many damn memorandums, but the memorandums are necessary because in the federal government, in the militaries, in the federal government, everything has policy. Everything is policy legislation, and you have to abide by these rules. You might have, like I said, you might have your policy on leave, vacation. You might have your policy on attendance. You might say, I want everybody to report to the office no later than 0700 on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, you can report at 09. You see where I'm going with this? So, to simplify things, I look at President Trump like a commander-in-chief, even though I'm a civilian. And for this case here, you should too. So what happens, Commander-in-Chief Trump, I know he's been in the federal government before. He was a president. So what he's he's came in to office day one, and he's dismantling a system. Based off my personal experience and my empirical data, that's something as a leader I would never do. No one should do it. Let me tell you why. Because a lot of people don't know what the hell they're doing. They don't. And when you're selfish and stupid and you just come into a place and say, this is what I want to do, it's going to backfire on you. Remember this. I feel like what he's doing is going to backfire on him, not necessarily in a bad way because he has an agenda, but I think it's going to come from lack of proper leadership. You cannot go into a organization like that and make changes. Now, what I just read you, it did say, it said, let's see here, 60. I think I see what that is there. Where are you? 60. Okay. It did say each agency department, on section B, it says each agency, department, or commission head in consultation with the Attorney General, the Director of OMB, and the Director of OPM, as appropriate, shall take the following actions within 60 days of this order. 60 days from this order, which was issued January 20, 2025. Take action. I still disagree. Because, like I said, you cannot take an organization, especially the federal government, which is the goddamn United States government, and start dismantling shit. Let me get something for you here. How many workers are in the federal government? Let's see here. So according to the OPM's latest report, 54% of the 2.28 million civilian workers employed by the federal government work entirely in person. The office found that the remaining 46 jobs were telework, and we'll talk about that tomorrow. That's the telework part. So it says 2.28 million civilian workers. That's civilian. 2.28 million. And I'm talking from a military perspective of 600 to 1,500. So you imagine 228 million, then his policies are also going to affect the military, which gives you an additional, drum roll please, it says as of September 2023 there were 2,860,681 people in the United States military, including active duty troops, reserve members, and civilian workers. So this source here, that's WGBH, it says 2.28 million civilian workers. Okay, so we'll say right at 3 million. You cannot just go into a position and remove policies and start changing shit for almost 3 million people, civilian and military. I know from experience. I've seen this happen so many times. People come in to the battalion and brigade levels, when you get some idiot that wants to do things their way, which is understood. That's why you are a leader. But you cannot come in with your personal opinions and perspectives trying to change the culture, because as a real leader now, you got to take a look at the infrastructure of every single unit. You cannot run every unit in the damn military the same. They all might have similar infrastructure coming from the top, but you cannot run, just like you can't run every business the same. You cannot run every household the same. See where I'm going with this? So I think what President Trump should have did, and I feel like we're operating off of some of his personal beliefs. He's going off his personal belief system. So you take a leader, every leader should have a vision. So he's got his personal beliefs probably intertwined with the Republican Party's foundational belief system. And he's running into the federal government, which is the United States. The federal government is America. You remove the federal government, you kind of dismantle America. So you're going into the federal government with a individual leadership style intertwined with Republican morals and values and beliefs. And you're imposing that on a damn organization with 3 million, right at 3 million people. And if you look, DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. The federal government is made up of a diverse body of people, dumbass. Yeah, shit. And it's funny and what I'm telling you, I've experienced it several times in the military. I know that I know what I'm talking about, because you get idiots who come in there, they've been in the military for X amount of years. They went to West Point, they went to Harvard, they went to Grambling State, they went to Duke, they went to Princeton, they went to Ole Miss, they went to Ohio, Georgia, all these different schools these people go to. They learn textbook shit. And I learned to be a great leader, which I feel like I'm a natural born leader. Like I have the ability to assess situations. That's why I can tell you what he's doing is wrong, even at that level. And you might argue and say, well, how can you compare what you're saying of 600 to 1,500 people versus 3 million? Because if I can manage $100, I can manage 1,000 by adding an extra zero. And if you want me to manage 3 million, just add a few more zeros, motherfucker. That's how I think. So the problem with DEI, everybody is talking about the damn race part of it, which this thing can go multiple ways. So I printed off the this right here. This is Department of Defense. They have this was 2022 to 2023. This was their plan, which I read through it. It's about how many pages? It's about 30 pages if you want to print it off and read through it. It really wasn't a lot. I mean, being a veteran myself, it sounded like some shit the Department of Defense would publish, but it made a great attempt and addressed a lot of issues. And basically what it said was, you cannot have a diverse body of people in the military without DEI, which is a good thing. DEI has been around for a long time. It's just been under a different name. So before we go further, this is what I want to do. And I'm going to give you a definition of it. So you got a lot of definitions online. You got a lot of definitions online, but they all pretty much point to the same definitions, even though they come from a variety of sources and scholars. So this right here says diversity refers broadly to real or perceived physical or socio-cultural differences attributed to people and the representation of these differences in research, market spaces, and organizations. Equity refers to fairness in the treatment of people in terms of both opportunity and outcome. Inclusion refers to creating a culture that fosters belonging and incorporation of diverse groups and is usually operationalized as the opposition to exclusion, excuse me, or marginalization. Taken together, DEI is typically accompanied by an axiological, which means like the system that you put things into, the way you classify them, orientation towards procedural and distributive justice in organizations and institutions. That's a pretty great, simple definition of what DEI is, which you would think is common sense. So, from what I'm seeing, what I'm experiencing myself, everybody is talking about DEI from a racial perspective. So what you got is a lot of stupid ass people that are basically undercover racists, and they're talking about DEI from that perspective, making it seem like every person of color, whether you're black or Hispanic or Puerto Rican or somebody from another country like Iran or Africa, that you are a DEI hire, as if in you don't have the common sense or the education to do certain jobs. Like we are surrounded by a goddamn group of genius white people, which we're not. Anybody with a modicum of common sense know that's a damn lie. It's false. So that's the biggest problem I see. But when you break this right here down, you cannot have a population like America and not have DEI. So DEI, what it's supposed to be, when you get rid of the dumb racist people who are trying to throw the acronym around to fit their own agenda, DEI will become a research model. It will become a research model where you take, and this is what I've read here from peer-reviewed articles, by the way. So what it will become, it will become a system where you analyze and you study different people and see how you can bring all these people from different backgrounds into one common place, which in the federal government would be the workplace, and make them a asset for the overall good of running the federal government more efficient and getting the most output. That's the federal government. The same damn thing is what you should want in a corporation. You have a corporation, you want it to be diverse. You want to know, how can I get all of these people from all these different backgrounds to come and work together? Remember what I'm going to tell you here. This is something I want you to remember. And today is Thursday, January 23rd. It is 6:22 p.m. Remember this right here. Some of these racist bastards that are throwing DEI around for your own personal nonsense, it's going to come back and bite you in your ass. Let me tell you why, punk. I'm going to tell you why. So, according to some research, back in 1950, white people made up 87% of the population. Let me double check that. Okay, so I got a source that said 87. So here on AI it's saying 89.5. We're gonna roll with it. That's perfect. Remember this now. White people made up 89.5% of the population. Let's put this out there too. 1950. Be careful now. Shit, in the words of Dr. Jordan Peterson, when you bend reality and try to play it, it'll slap the shit out of you. And here is what I'm looking for. It says, pay attention now. It says, according to census.gov, it says white population, 58% of the nation's total population in 2023. That's non-Hispanic. So 2023. I said 58%. You see where I'm going with this? Don't be a weak motherfucker and come back and bite you in the ass. 1950, 89.5%. 2023, 58% of the population. This is non-Hispanic too. This is white people. The article I read said in a few more years, you will go down to 47%. I got this from one of America's top economists. He's one of America's top economists. He's one of the most well-known economists around the globe too. He said white people are steady declining. And there's nothing you can do about it either. You can't go out here and just have sex with a bunch of goddamn women and try to repopulate the population because the morals and values are gone. And if you go out here and have sex, you'll probably end up being a single parent because if you look in the Republican Party today, go look at all the broken homes, all the people in there that's been divorced once or twice. The majority of them, well, the majority, I can't say that academically. I can say a large amount of Republicans who are white have been married once or twice or three times. So be careful what you play with, you piece of shit. Because 1950, 89, 2023, you're 58%. And here soon you will be 47%. You already not the majority no more because Hispanics are the majority. Be careful when you're trying to play racial games, punk. In the words of Jordan Peterson, when you bend reality, it will backfire and slap the shit out of you. That's how I think it's going to come back and bite you in the butt. One day, this same DEI you don't like, your punk ass might need. And actually, if I may continue, the majority of white people are benefiting off DEI anyway. So once you get past the racial perspective, this is what everybody is focusing on. You focus on race. That's not what DEI is. DEI is diversity, equity, and inclusion. What you racist motherfuckers are trying to do, you keep focused on this part of it, you dumb fuck, and it's gonna backfire. Let me go over some things with you here. So, and as I'm talking, keep in mind that Donald Trump, the commander-in-chief / president, just took over a fucking organization with roughly around 3 million goddamn people from different backgrounds across the country. And you think about what I'm finna read you here. Gender, age, and body. And okay, I'm not gonna, well, I'll go through all of them and then I'll come back and go over each section. So gender, age, and body, that falls under DEI. If I can write them on the board for you, huh? Let's write them on the board. I said body, gender, age. I got race up there. This is what's going to affect a lot of you white people that's trying to be funny. Social class. Social class and social status. Every damn white person didn't come from George Bush's world. If you look at the majority of the Republican Party, Speaker of the House, the old Speaker of the House, John Boehner, or Boehner, whatever his name, grew up in a 2-bedroom house with 10 siblings, I think. His parents were bartenders. Obama called him out. He ain't from no damn aristocratic family. The Speaker of the House now, the Speaker of the Republican Party, why is he the Speaker of the House? Not because his damn intellect. What's his name? Mike Johnson. Mike Johnson is the Speaker of the House because he was going through financial problems. And the Republicans said, let him be Speaker of the House so he can make an extra $50,000. And he won't be out there on the street like Eazy-E back in that Compton video begging for food, clothing, and shelter. This is online. You can go Google this. So, okay. So those are the areas, this article here, which I like. This is a good article. I took a deep dive here. Okay, this is what I'm looking for. Religion. You got Protestants, you got Catholic, you got Methodists, you got Pentecostal. All those are different types of white people now. And then let's not forget you got German, Scottish, Irish, Polish, English. That's not all the same people. That's diverse, motherfucker. Be careful now. Okay, that's all here. And they got cultural identity gaps. So this is the one you bastards are focusing on. But this does not matter. Because another thing, if you follow politics, economics, and social what word am I looking for? If you follow the social sciences, this right here is becoming one over time. So the reason this shit here is where we are now, because all the races in America are coming together. By the year, I might be wrong, but you can go online and check this out too. By the year 2050, I think 2050, they said we will be close in the United States to one race. And everybody is saying beige. and beige means that blacks, whites, Mexicans are all coming together. J.D. Vance is married to an Indian. Barack Obama is mixed. Patrick Mahomes is mixed. You got a lot of mixed people in the world. So we're getting to one race slowly but surely, which is why you have to move fast. So when you talk about DEI, this is the one everybody's focusing on, which you poor whites, your poor ass damn sure shouldn't be focused on race, because you already, everything down here benefits you. And then Trump talked about repealing some of the civil rights policies from the past, mixed with some of the New Deal. Not saying he went in to actually change those individually, but they talked about how some of these current policies kind of piggyback off of things from the past, like the civil rights and voting rights and all that stuff in the New Deal. And the damn New Deal was for poor whites. Lyndon Johnson wasn't no rich white boy. if you didn't know, no, he was poor. Shit, he grew up poor. Speaker of the House Sam Rayburn, who was a Democrat, he grew up poor too. Joe Biden's ass, Biden didn't grow up rich. Mike Johnson, he's a Republican, he didn't grow up rich. John Boner's ass, he ain't grow up rich. These people are coming from humble beginnings, and like Mike Johnson right now, he's only the Speaker of the House because the Republican said he needs to make an extra $50,000 so he won't be homeless. So don't play games and be racist, which is what a lot of y'all are doing. So in this article here, they talked about body under DEI, which is neat. And I can tell, and that, like I said earlier, when you talk about, it's good. When you talk about DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, what happens is you're trying to get you're building like a database of all these different characteristics and attributes of people. Just like if you wanted to do a DEI in the NFL, you could base it off of where all the players come from. Academic achievement from kindergarten up until they started football, and you might go from the time they started playing 8th, 7th grade football up into high school, from college up to the NFL. So you can take DEI and make it fit what you want to fit. But just for the record, you have to have DEI inside of a goddamn diverse country and federal government like America. So back to body here. This was so deep because in this article here, they talked about DEI in the sense of, say you work for the federal government or you work for your current employer. Your body ages. So not your age, but your body. Say you fat. This shit gets deep. So if you are fat, fat people have a tendency to have certain issues. So if somebody says there is a meeting on the 3rd floor at 1 o'clock, you're fat. You might not be able to move as fast as everybody else. And then some idiot's gonna come in and say, well, they didn't have to be fat. Shut the fuck up, because you the problem. Most of y'all who be talking about, most of y'all who always got an opinion on something, be the main ones who probably grew up eating free lunch at school with your poor ass. Your dad was probably on disability like Mike Johnson's dad or something. So shut up. If you are an American citizen, you want DEI because you want to study all the people. So that obese is just one aspect of it. So if you got 5 obese people in the office, you might want to study them. You might come up with you might propose a hypothesis saying that if these people would lose 200 pounds, they might be a better asset to the federal government and their job. If that's the case, you would study that element under DEI. you might have something else in there that says people who have arthritis. If you look on usajobs.com, they have jobs on there that says for disabled veterans and people with disabilities. That falls under DEI. So if a person is in a wheelchair, you can't discriminate against them, and you got to be careful, you piece of shit, because you don't know when you'll end up in a wheelchair. Or you might have family members that end up in a wheelchair one day. So shut your fucking mouth. So that would fall under DEI too. If you got a person who has cerebral palsy or some veteran who got his leg shot off in combat, or somebody with diabetes or anything, that would put them under DEI, which you would study them. The federal government has several jobs that are available for people with disabilities. You might have a bunch of veterans in there with PTSD. They have to mark that on their application, and when they're rating a person's workplace performance, you might go in there and say, hey, how are all these veterans who have PTSD performing in certain environments? You might get some social scientists in, and they might do some type of survey and a study and say, hey, we noticed that by these people having this job, when they go to the doctor at the VA, he says that their PTSD is really not a problem. It's kind of like an outlet for them. That falls under DEI, idiot. So body is something that a lot of y'all are not thinking about. You keep thinking about one part of it. Then, of course, we got gender. When you go to gender and shit, which I agree with President Trump on that, it's only two genders. All that extracurricular shit, that's on you, and to each his own. But some damn scientist or doctor when created some other shit, sci-fi channel stuff, and you have to factor that in right now. But one of the historical arguments are women being underrepresented in the workplace. Can women do the job that men can do? Why are women not promoted? I just did another video on women in combat roles. That's where that's going to fall in at. Then you're going to have to take into consideration your gay fuckers, your gay men, and your gay women. They're going to fall under there. They are, they fall under the Constitution, and they are American citizens, so they deserve the same rights that the rest of us deserve. So you put them under there. It has to be studied. Now you go down here to age. So age and body are different because your body and your age can be different. So you got, this is kind of neat, which nobody talks about. You can be 45 years old with certain types of, some type of Benjamin Button shit, and your body might be the body of a 60 or 70-year-old because of your social class, your social status, your culture. That was another one that I read somewhere else. That's something else that you can factor in. Then you might have a person that's socially immature. And the big point you have to always keep in mind, the damn DEI is for the overall group to contribute as much as they can and be an asset to the goddamn federal government and society. So that age plays a difference. What's the mandatory age for people in the federal government? Is it 62? Well, people are younger. They're more youthful. We have better diets. People are living longer. So the person who's been working for the federal government for fucking 35 years, they want to keep working 5 more years. This might affect you. You don't know if your damn parents and grandparents are going to need to keep working. You don't know what type of retirement, you don't know what kind of financial problems they're going to run into in the future. And hell, they might end up having to bail your broke ass out. So when you talk about age, that falls under DEI. It's something that needs to be studied. They're already talking about raising the damn retirement age. So if they're raising the retirement age, it needs to be studied, because if you force everybody to work an additional 4 to 5 or 10 years, and they're aged to the point where it's more of a detriment than an asset to them and the goddamn federal government and corporations, that's a problem. So age is another bullet of DEI. Now this one right here, go back to what I said, Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, and other Speaker of the House, John Boner's ass, social class. They didn't come from no damn Hollywood Hills. They didn't grow up rich like George Bush Jr. So this right here is going to probably affect social class. It's going to affect probably 70% of white people. West Virginia, all you Appalachian whites, West Virginia, Kentucky, Mississippi, Alabama, Texas. This is going to affect some of y'all. Now, if you think your poor ass is going if you think you're going to ride the race wave, some of you poor whites from Appalachia and some of these rural areas, your dumb ass just as disadvantaged as blacks from public housing and Mexicans from public housing projects. You just as got the issues poor whites and poor blacks have are coming from this social class and this social status. That was one reason that Lyndon Johnson came out with the New Deal. The damn New Deal wasn't for black people. It was for the majority of white Americans and minorities. So social class and social status will affect the majority of this 58% right here. And if you go online and look right now, I think 43% of welfare recipients are whites. So 43% of a 58% group. Also, I learned in the Army, which everybody in the Army is green, white males make up 65% of the population according to the Army. I don't know if that number aligns with this, but white males made up 65% of the population in the United States and 61% of sex crimes. White males make up the majority of sex crimes in the Army, which everybody's green and they wear a bracelet, white, yellow, red, and they said the ones with the white bracelets. So some of that is coming from your culture, your social status, and your social class. If you grew up in goddamn West Virginia, Kentucky, and you was molested or your DNA just crazy, you need social status and social class and culture studying. So you can say, why are these people from this area having all these problems? That's why I said you got to be careful. Remember Jordan Peterson, the moment you bend reality, it will bend and slap the shit out of you. Social class and social status and culture falls under DEI. And when you talk about poor minorities and poor whites that are coming from underprivileged backgrounds where the education is not the best, you want to be able to study it. Why do you study it, you dumb bastard? Because you want to see what those Americans need so they can be an asset to the overall population. You have something called the BRICS right now. Russia, China, Russia, China, South Africa, and you got most of Africa's joining in. So there's one more, I can't think of it. But you got the BRICS, and they're becoming a power. So you cannot have an American population, you dumb fucks, where you cannot have a fucking American population in 2025. 2025, it's a different color in this bitch. So if white people are making up 58% of the population, that's in 2023. Every year they're declining. So this number is just what I got out there so I can give you a source. Trust me, this is 2025. We probably either low 50s or goddamn at the top of the 40s right now. So 58%. So if we put this bad boy in half, that would be 50. So it's about 47. So we're gonna do this, and I'm freestyling. So say this is white America, and we're gonna say they make up 50% of the population, and this is white, non-Hispanic. So if you make up roughly 50% of the population, and then Hispanics make up more, which most Hispanics are coming from Mexico. As far as from a population perspective, Mexicans have been historically oppressed and suffered from what I'll call third world country syndrome. And then you got the blacks, which make up with 13 to 14% of the population. They are considered a minority, and they still deal with psychological issues and traumas from one of America's worstest sins, slavery. So what you have to look at, idiot, and this is the whole point I want you to see. This here is the bricks. It's spelled bricks. If this is who the United States is going up against, or you can call this China. The damn thing you idiots keep doing, you poor fucking nobodies with your dumb ass, you keep trying to build the United States here. You keep trying to build the USA based off this. Motherfucker, you got to goddamn compete with within the global community. When one thing Trump is saying that makes a lot of sense, when he says, we're headed to third world status, nobody respects us, he's telling us some truth. Once this motherfucker here get to third world status, which we sliding off the goddamn cliff, we basically fucked. You trying to play games, so if you 50% of the population, this whole 50% don't consist of no goddamn Albert Einsteins and no goddamn fucking top-notch citizens. This 50% is probably just as shitty as a... Let me say it like this. This 50% here better be on their knees asking God for grace and mercy, because that's the only way they're going to accomplish something, not counting the goddamn 61% of them that are committing sex crimes, the 43% of them that's on welfare, and all the other shit. Now you got a 13% black population who's been historically oppressed. They dealing with the traumas from Jim Crow, segregation, all that shit. Then you got the Hispanics, which, like I said, they dealing with their own historical problems and coming from a third world country. Then you got a bunch of other miscellaneous groups like Asians and shit. The games y'all playing, when I say it's gonna backfire on you, it will backfire, because this right here is what is finna run the world, the bricks. So instead of playing dumb games, you better be trying to build everybody up in here. So I agree with Trump when he says we don't see no color. You shouldn't be seeing color. You better goddamn take DEI, because you're gonna need a diverse group of people. You gonna need every goddamn body you can in this motherfucker to be decent. You cannot afford to let you cannot afford to neglect nobody inside the goddamn four walls of this American hierarchy. You have to you're gonna have to invest in every single one of these people. When COVID-19 hit again, or we have a war, or even from education, the damn morals and values in the country are declining, dumbass. You cannot run no civilization in 2025 with this group of people here. It's just not, it doesn't make logical sense. So all these BRIC nations, especially with China leading the way, if China has momentum, they're getting traction because they're not used to being the leader of the free world, which is what they're shooting at. That's what they're aiming for. So America right here, with a few ignorant individuals trying to still play racial games with a goddamn race that's declining, while they're getting traction, and they're going to surpass this. And once they pass this, Dr. Jeffrey Sachs said that by 2050, Africa will be a leader in the global community. So you got South Africa right now that has the money and the economic stability. And that's because the United States and other European countries have invested in South Africa for decades. They did not invest in the rest of Africa. But Africans, I was in graduate school with 4 or 5 Africans, very smart people. And when they get done over here, they said they're going back to Africa. So Africa is being nourished by China because China, once upon a time, was struggling too. So if you pay attention to the news, Africa just put France out. France had several bases in Africa. What did the Africans tell them? Get your shit and get out of our country. Why are they putting you out? Because China's coming in, giving them better opportunities and more resources, and so is Russia. And so here, this is what's going on in the global community, and you ignorant poor motherfuckers over here, and the majority came through Ellis Island, and y'all up here playing white man, black man, red man, yellow man, green man, about to pull your head out your ass. You're going to have to invest in everybody in this country because from a military perspective, China has what a military of 1 billion people. Now I got mixed beliefs about that, but every simulation that the Department of Defense has used and been pretty accurate on, it says that the United States cannot beat China. China has a state-of-the-art Navy. So I agree with what Trump is trying to say, but I don't think the majority of the population is looking at DEI from the right perspective, because if you did, you would keep it in all policies, because when there's another emergency, America is going to have to go against these other nations, and everybody in America, from white people to poor white trash to black people to hood rats to Hispanics, whether they're illegals, they're first generation migrants, or wherever, you're going to have to invest in them. You're going to have to invest in the Asians. You're going to have to invest in every migrant in America, legal migrant. You're going to have to invest in everybody in America. And in order for this goddamn country to move forward, you're going to have to make every goddamn American, I'm talking about every person who falls under this American umbrella, you're going to have to make them feel included. And you're going to have to cater to their needs. And this is a diverse body. And I drew these 4 people here, but shit, I can probably draw 10 or 20 people that make up America. And all 10 to 20 people will probably actually be factors that contribute something to this country here. And that, I'm going to say it again. You keep playing racist games, it will backfire and slap you in the face. You have no room for racism in America, especially if you have enough common sense to know we are moving towards one race. So ain't no use of goddamn being racist. It's only going to be goddamn 1,000 racist motherfuckers, and you're not even like a top quality bloodline. I mean, you ain't calling Prince Harry saying, "What's up, cuz?" He probably look at you and say, "I beg your pardon." So that's kind of that's kind of my take on DEI. I feel like it's being overlooked from a racist perspective instead of body, gender, age, social class, social status, religion, culture. And this, if you remove race, you still got so many other elements. I mean, you take white people, you got your Protestants, your Catholics, you got your Methodists, you got your Pentecostals, you got your Lutherans. All those people not getting along, those are different belief systems. Then you got your different cultures. When I was stationed in Tennessee, a bunch of them white boys in that army unit I was in, they did not like the commander. He was from Ohio. They did not like him. And me having my social science mind, I found out that they didn't like him because he was from the North. He didn't understand their lingo. He wasn't a good old boy. They didn't get along. I remember one day a guy said, we was going to the range. He said, sir, everything is good for the range. We can come off the bus and shooting. And the colonel said, that ain't kind of dumb to you? And he said, what do you mean? He said, why would we come off the bus shooting? I know everybody in the meeting know what he meant. He meant once we get to the range, we can step off the bus and immediately go to the range and start firing. The colonel didn't like how he talked. So from his Ohio point of view, he felt like there was a dumb hillbilly because that guy was from Arkansas that was talking. And he told him in the meeting, he said, well, shouldn't you learn how to talk properly and how to communicate? And he was like, well, that's what I meant. He said, no, that's not what you said. So that was a culture difference. You had a culture difference. Then you got social class and social status. J.D. Vance is a good example of social class, social status, and culture because he's from Appalachia. Him and Donald Trump usually wouldn't be hanging out. J.D. Vance also went to Yale, which he wrote that book, Hillbilly Elegy, which is a great testament to a person who came from where he comes from. He's got a great story. You take Joe Biden. Joe Biden and Trump are not from the same social class, and they still don't have the same social status. Just like if you take Bill Clinton and George Bush, that's two different social classes. You see where I'm going with this? So this right here is not for minorities. This damn system is for everybody. Everybody who falls under the red, white, and blue umbrella. And if you have good sense, what I put on this board right here alone can be broken down into so many different angles. I mean, from race, we can take